Hey everyone, this is Greg. How are you tonight? I thought what we would do is run through how you do the two independent sample t-test in SPSS. And so if the assignment, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. That's the best way to learn this quantitative stuff. And then you can submit it and we will call that satisfactory. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a two independent samples t-test. Now, I'm going to use my own data, and I would like you to use the same data and then vary it a little just to see if you can do it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Now, we got to have a little fun here because this is a stressful course. So, I'm going to compare two groups. I'm going to compare the children of Minnesota Vikings fans and the children of Green Bay Packers fans. And I'm going to compare about 8 children from each group, and I'm going to compare their 8th grade test scores. All right? So here's my data. Okay, now, as you can see, don't pay attention to any of this. These are the scores of the students of the Minnesota Vikings fans on their 8th grade math test. These are the scores of the Green Bay Packers fans' kids. Alright, so I'm going to leave it there. So if you need it, you can get it. Alright, so I have, for the Vikings, I have 50, 49, 40, 35, 38, 40, and 41. For the Packers, I have 48, 46, 38, 33, 40, 41, and 35. Those are my two independent samples that I've taken. So I randomly took 8 from each group, and I'm going to compare them. All right, so here's how it works. You take SPSS, and I've got it right here on my laptop, and here's how you put it in. This is quite confusing. Now, do you see how I have in column 1, I have all of the test scores going all the way down. So there's, how many is there? There's 14 of them. Those are the test scores. Now, here's the thing that gets confusing. Do you see how in the column next to it, I have a 1 by some of the scores and a 2 by the other? That's what's called the grouping variable, and without it, this will not work. Okay, the Minnesota Vikings children's scores have a 1 next to them. The Packers children have a 2 next to them, so you have to have 2 columns. Not for each group. One column is all the scores. The other column is what's called the grouping variable. So you have to identify from which group the first column scores come. So that's exactly how you have to do it. There's no other way. Okay? All right, now I'm going to click on Analyze. And then I'm going to click on Compare Means. So here's where I am. It says Analyze, Compare Means. Analyze, compare means. Okay, the test I'm going to do is an independent samples t-test. It's the third one down. Don't use the paired samples t-test. That's another name for the dependent samples t-test. You have to use the independent samples t-test. And then I'm going to click on it. Okay? Now, here's what happens. You're going to see in the variable box, you're going to see variable 1 and variable 2. Well, you have to put variable 1 to the right in the top box and variable 2 to the bottom in the bottom box. So I'm going to do that now. Variable 1's going over there. Variable 2's going over there. Now, why did we do this? Because the variable in the top, that's from column 1. Those are the actual test scores. The variable down below, that's the grouping variable. The grouping variable is variable 2. And then you can see below it, it says define groups. Okay? So I'm going to define the groups. And group 1 will be called 1, because there was a 1 by the Vikings scores. And group 2 will be the scores that are associated with group 2. So I have to have group 1 and group 2. Now, they match up with group 1 and group 2 in your data. Okay? Now, I'm going to click continue. And then I'm going to click OK, and I'm done. That's all it takes to put it in. All right, now we're going to look at the results here. First of all, it will give you, right here, it will give you the mean and the standard deviation of each individual group. So I'm going to stop there for a minute. Now, it's true that the Minnesota Vikings mean score was 41 and the Packers was 40. All right? But that's just the sample means. So it looks like the Vikings scores, the means was a little higher. However, that has nothing to do with the t-test. The t-test tells us, if we go down below here, we have some more information. Now this is what's really important. Okay, you will see this. And then I've got it written out for you too. You will see a t-value, and that is 0.518. You will see a degrees of freedom is 12. And you will see what's called a significance number. And that's the equivalent to your p-value. And in this case, the p-value is 0.572. 0.572. So whenever you conduct an independent samples t-test, you need three things. You need the test statistic, you need the degrees of freedom, and you need the p-value. Okay? All right, so let's double check what we got here. Here was our two groups. When we ran the test, we got a test statistic, that's what T means, of 0.581. We got a degrees of freedom of 12. And we got a p-value of, I'm reading this upside down, 0.572. Okay? Now that's all you need to conduct an independent samples two-group t-test. So what does it mean? Okay? Well, what does it mean? Now, your p-value was not less than 0.05. That means it's not a significant result. If it's not a significant result, then we cannot reject the null hypothesis that the mean score of all the children from the Vikings and the Packers fans are equivalent. Okay? So we don't have a statistically significant result. That's exactly how you conduct that test. Okay? And when you report a two-sample t-test, I sent you a study, and it's on verbs or something. This is exactly how you report a t-test in a study. You put the word t, you put the test statistic, the first one's the degrees of freedom, then you put the test statistic, then you put the p-value. And that's on page 2 of the study I sent you. So when you send in your assignment, that's exactly how you're going to format the results. And it's APA standard, it's done in all studies that way. So if you don't get that part right, we'll fix it. But what I do need you to do is learn how to conduct the test. Okay, so it seems a little complicated. We'll keep working at it till we get it. All right, so SBS is, it's what we got. And the other thing is, we got to stay under 10 minutes to not pay YouTube, so we're at 9, so we're going to conclude it. But that's how you do the test. Go ahead and use your own data. Even use 2 sets of 8 scores of anything you want, as long as you know how to do it, and I will verify the results. Okay, everybody have a good evening, and we'll talk soon. Thank you. Bye.